Back with more of the Haunting of Bly Manor. This is episode 2. Very excited to see what's going to happen next. I really enjoyed the first episode. Really setting the stage, I think, for the setting and the characters and some of the big mysteries we're going to be following. And I think it's still very much, we're scratching the surface of exactly what is going to be going on here and exactly what we're going to be properly invested in. It was very much, the introduction to some of the core characters and themes and stuff. While also remaining quite engaging and quite spooky at times as well. I really like the characters thus far, so I am very excited to kind of follow whatever story is going to be told with them. And yeah, I'm not expecting any kind of answers for all my many questions this early on. I'm sure that's going to be something nearer the end of the series, and they're just going to continue to spook us completely. But I'm more than willing to kind of wait and enjoy the ride while I can, while I'm not traumatized emotionally. So yeah, we're off to a very good start with this, I feel. So I'm excited to carry on. And without further ado, let's get into the next one.
A few times a year, it seemed, she started her days with a mop. Always the same path, from the door to the forbidden wing and back again.
Oh.
Miles!
Okay. Yeah, they're scared of that, aren't they? Is that forcing them to do weird shit?
I don't like the cellar. It's perfectly dreadful down there.
Time for a visit to famously not spooky part of any house, the cellar.
Brothers can be perfectly dreadful sometimes, can't they?
He isn't, though. He really isn't.
I think they do genuinely mean well, but... Oh god, no.
Look who I found. What's her name?
She can't remember.
Does she, make dolls of all the ghosts she sees or something?
And the herd rushed down the deep slope into the lake and were drowned there. So,
Drowning in lakes, is it?
They needed permission. The demons.
permission to...
To enter the pigs.
Ah, yes, they did.
Did they need it for him, though? Did they need it for the man?
Judging by her writing on the envelope, I assume it's from
Sister.
very thoughtful of her. John 16, 22.
You now indeed have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man shall take from you.
Oh.
The trouble began, as trouble often does, with an accident. Or so it will be called.
Oh dear. Oh. He's being compelled to do things, isn't he, I think?
If you ever need anything, I'm here for you, mate. Okay?
Oh. Everyone seems so nice here. Oh dear.
We all do terrible things sometimes. That's expected. It's baked into us from the start. But it's that feeling of remorse, that guilt. None of us are blameless. Except the soul that's not yet conceived and the animals. Like Pidge over there. They're the only innocents.
And it wasn't fair, was it?
Oh.
They're in a better place.
They're not coming back.
I'm afraid not.
Oh.
That's not fair either. Why did the bad ones get to come back? Not them.
Oh. He does ask some good questions. You're not wrong, teacher. Oh. No, thank you. Don't be the bird. Oh, I knew. I knew it. Because it was innocent. Oh.
I'm sorry, I didn't do worse. It was off its head. insides.
Oh.
Burn it. I'm sorry I didn't do worse.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's an apology. So I'm wondering if this is something compelling him to do all this, or this is him just trying to get himself kicked out.
I needed to find your key. That's all.
Key.
Only the letter from Flora, delivered when he arrived, forgotten in the dormitory,
Yeah.
would offer a possible clue
Well, that's true, yeah.
as to why he tried so
Yes.
hard to be sent home.
Oh, God. No.
About the part where they locked her in a closet.
Oh, no, you can't blame them for that. Given what they've lost, strangers is expected.
Yeah, you can't give them a pass forever, Hannah.
Yeah, that's true.
You clean up after him. Owen feeds him.
But also, is it their fault? I don't know. Are they protecting her? I don't know. Very complicated. Perfectly complicated.
Not for me. Gin is a sad drink.
On a scale of 0 to American, how would you rate her?
Oh, God.
Do you think she's pretty, Owen?
Jamie?
Look at him. He's tongue-tied. I can't answer.
She's just romances don't fare well at Bly, do they?
I just have to laugh.
I know.
No.
But then that's how it starts. In the kitchen, there's a crack in the ceiling. Would you mind popping in later to have a look?
That's the shape of the glowy eyes. It's the glasses, isn't it? Oh, God.
You alright?
Perfectly splendid.
I prefer plants. Easy to get along with. And if I don't like one... So if it's chow room and advice you're after, I'd just... start there, maybe. There we are. Not
Aw.
so bad, right? I also think I keep all these fucking plants watered. With my endless well of deep, inconsolable tears.
There just seems to be like an aura of sadness around the place, doesn't there?
You're doing great.
Like gin and tonic, sad drink.
Thank you.
No. No! It kind of sucks that, like, people often go to bathrooms for, like, comfort and stuff, don't they? Just to get away from somewhere. You normally go there. And that's one place where there's normally a mirror guaranteed, so...
The food police for assault and battery.
Excellent pun.
I'd like to apologise. For all of it.
Oh.
It's such a draining thing. Dealing with children.
No.
Little shit. Hey. Look, we just go back to the bit where you were acting mental and I had to talk you down.
I mean, I get it. I'd be a bit pissed off as well.
Any game you like.
We'll be back in our beds before too long, right? Can't be out of our rooms too late.
We won't.
No. Oh, God. Made me jump opening the door. Couldn't they have played Snap or Pat a Cake? Oh. Uh-oh. Rebecca? By any chance? Don't do that. Ah. God. Yes, she can just see and hear them, can't she? Oh!
Miles.
Fuck.
I'm supposed to be looking for you, and this wing
I'm
is all...
going to stop counting, and it'll be your time to run and hide. Fight you.
Ease up.
Oh no, it's like with the kid at school. Probably should have just gone to bed, eh? Oh! Man! No! Oh, that was... Ooh, God. Oh. Oh, God.
Look, he's awake. He's awake.
Oh, You, stop it, sir. Leave the boy alone. Okay, another really good episode. I enjoyed the focus on Miles, and it very much felt like, part of his story. Obviously not the full story, because we don't know exactly what's going on with everything, but it was cool to get an insight into why he was sent home early from his boarding school, exactly what went on there, what he was doing, what he got up to. The fact that he had lots of really nice and healthy relationships at that place, with Father Stack, I believe the guy's name was, and he had that friend who was looking out for him as well. I think that was the same friend he then had to fight with, but we saw, I think it was just he needed to get back to his sister because she seems to be struggling a bit. So there does seem to be that genuine care between the siblings, and that I think a lot of it is, I don't know if there's a mix of they are compelled by something to do things, or they are acting out of what they believe to be the right thing. I'm sure there's probably a mix of both, perhaps. It did seem, with everything he was doing at the school, it felt like he was more so compelled to maybe fall off the tree or jump. And killing the bird, I think that's a bit far just for Miles to do so he can get back to his sister, but maybe that's how desperate the situation is, because we don't really know the full extent of what those guys have already been through prior to that. I'm sure it wasn't easy if they went through, obviously losing those people and everything with the ghosts that Flora can clearly see, and I would assume Miles can see that as well. Well, he saw the guy at the end, didn't he? So they can see these kind of spirits and ghosts as well, and if that only just started out after those deaths happened to them, and then, they went through that together, and then suddenly Miles is at boarding school, and he and Flora can't kind of deal with that together, or process that at all. I imagine that being incredibly difficult to deal with, so maybe he's just acting out because of that. Maybe he is compelled to do some of the stuff. Maybe it all was just a desperation to get back to Flora. But yeah, really interesting kind of insight there. And I like that it was a combination of many things, and it wasn't just this one incident and he gets sent home straight away. It was things were escalating, just as the end of the episode even escalated, because things are going a bit crazy and mad. But yeah, I really enjoyed that focus on Miles, and I don't think, particularly after this episode, I don't think it's really the kids doing bad things because they're evil children. I think, they're obviously very messed up, but there must be some kind of outside influence on them. The scene in the classroom where Miles was asking Father Stack about, did Jesus have permission from the pigs to possess them or whatever, and that whole kind of thing. Are people just compelled to do things? That whole argument, it seemed like he was speaking from experience when he asked that question, and that's why it was such a good question, because he's kind of actively lived through that. I think he was quite haunted by that. And to go through that, I think that was just his first day back as well. He got, obviously, the letter from Flora, and that just so happened to be the subject matter that they were talking about, and some of the readings that the father did, he mentioned a woman drowning in a lake, so it's, are things being manipulated, to force those references onto Miles? Was that outside influence even on the father, that someone made him or compelled him to read that particular bit or talk about these particular questions? But I feel like some of that is just coming from maybe experience on Miles's part, maybe guilt over what he was doing, because then that would tie into what Stack was talking about. Is, people do bad things, but what separates us from the really bad and horrible creatures is that we can feel bad about it, we can feel remorse and feel sorry for it. And with that in mind, Miles then knew when he needed to apologize for killing the bird, poor bird. As soon as they put so much focus on that and they said how innocent it was, I was like, well, that thing's dead by the end of the episode, and it was. But just everything to do with that, the build up to it, Miles being like, well, I'm just sorry I didn't do worse, I'm sorry I didn't do more. He knew, that would be the separation of, I'm not maybe a good person because I'm not feeling remorse for this. But I think that was him knowing if he said that, things are going to get really bad and he can potentially get kicked out and go back to his sister for it. So I think we still don't know the big picture yet. We don't know exactly how much of a mix it could be of outside influences and just of their own accord, their own actions to, achieve their own personal goals that we still don't know about yet, or just so they can stay together. Because, locking Danny in the closet in the last episode, was that an act of protection? Losing the key suddenly is like, I don't know, like when they finally let her out, it almost felt like they'd come back, they'd been away, maybe possessed or compelled or whatever. So I'm sure we're going to explore exactly how much of a mix there was of all those different things. But I like that we're starting to get some hints that of what could be going on with them. So I'm really intrigued to find out where that's going to go. And, the fact that I don't think they're bad kids means it just opens up a lot more story potential, doesn't it? And what they were talking about with possession, etc., being compelled in this episode, that's going to be something we see. And when Miles kind of collapsed near the end as well, was that him seeing that guy, or was that brought on by the guy itself? Because that creepy smiley guy seems to be enjoying it. And there seems to be like that connection there. Flora was aware of that woman like crawling in the background, which is horrible, and she's like telling her to shut up. But also it's interesting that Danny can see that guy in particular. I don't know if she'll be able to see any other like spirits or ghosts or whoever's about, but so far it's only ever been him. So what's the connection there? Why can she only see him? I'm excited to see where that's going to go. Just exploring, Miles just wants to get back to Flora, I think, so they could maybe help each other out. They're in it together. When he got rid of the doll at the start of the episode, it seems like an act of protection again, just like, I want to get this horrible, nasty thing away from us while we are in control. They seem to be more so in control during the day when they're in their rooms. It's like their safe space almost. So when they got to play hide and seek, a bit later in the day after dark, they could be influenced by outside forces, which seemed to be the case. Like Miles nearly choking Danny out in a similar way he did with the kid at the school. So there's acts of protection like that. Flora also mentioned, I think it was when she was talking to Owen, she was like, Owen was like, big brothers can be horrible or something, and splendid, like, what was it, something dreadful or something, and she was like, he's not really. So she knows that, I think, he's just protecting her from stuff, and she understands his reasons for doing it, but for some reason they can't just tell the adults what's going on, maybe because they wouldn't be believed, maybe they're being compelled to not say anything about exactly what they go through, what they see. So that's interesting, but it seems Danny is like the bridge between the kids who are fully aware of all this shit and can see all this, and the other adults in the house that seem blissfully unaware of it. She seems to be like a bridge between the two. I don't know if it's because she has connections to kids with like being a teacher and stuff, so she kind of, I don't know, she can understand their point of view and she can understand their mindsets at times, and therefore she can also see what they see. Not entirely, she can't see everything maybe, but she's getting glimpses like that guy. I don't know if that's how it's going to be. Whereas you had Jamie, I'm pretty sure that is Jamie the gardener, I think her name is Jamie. She's just like, you little shits, blah 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 blah, we can't give them a pass forever. She's not really on their level, and fair enough, because why would anyone believe that that's going on? So maybe that's why she hasn't maybe seen any weird stuff, or maybe she has and we haven't explored that yet. But there does seem to be those kind of different separation levels, because Jamie is a gardener, not a teacher, so she hasn't really interacted with the kids outside of that. But in the last episode, she was teasing them a bit. She did seem to have a nice positive relationship with the kids most of the time. So it's clearly just shenanigans, and things sometimes will just go a bit astray. But yeah, just lots of instances of Miles acting out, and the way they just shoot things is very sinister as well. Obviously, he had the flowers behind his back, the roses, but when they shot him just like walking backwards with something behind his back, it's very creepy. So I like that kind of choice. The fact that he had ruined like a rose bed, and Jamie got very annoyed at. Fair enough. In an act of apology, so wrong was still done. Something sweet and innocent, I guess, was still kind of destroyed. What Jamie was talking about, this is why I prefer plants. I can get on with plants, and if I don't, for whatever reason, I can kill them. So I liked that moment as well, because it spoke to Father Stack being like, nothing's innocent except, the animals, etc. So there's almost a level of innocence there with like the plants, and something that Jamie can connect with, which I found really interesting. I liked that scene a lot. Like we got a bit more of Jamie in this episode, which I liked, because I think she was the only character in the last one they didn't get all that much. So just to get a hint of what she's like, she seems very comfortable in herself. She seems, up for a laugh, but serious when she needs to be. She clearly has a very good rapport with Hannah and Owen. I think they've known each other for quite a while now. There seems to be some nice chemistry between the three of them, and they're like talking about how would they rate Danny. And the scene where she saw Danny kind of break down a bit, get upset because she saw the creepy glasses guy again, and obviously I think those glasses do relate to the shiny circles. I think whatever thing she's seeing is wearing those glasses, so we're going to find out a bit of that backstory at some point. So I like that they kind of brought that, they moved that a little bit forward as well, that kind of story that was set up very well in the last one. Not as much focus in this one, obviously, because this was more like fuck off fly, more like a Miles centric one, but they're still kind of letting that's still going on, that's still a thing. So I liked that as well. But I like what Jamie was saying to try and calm Danny down, like bring her back a bit, just try and make her laugh and relate to her. That was a really lovely moment as well, very humanising. So I think she's just very easy to get on with. So I think it speaks more so to like how shenanigan-y things are getting with ghosts and ghouls and stuff, and the fact that she can get angry at people. She is having disagreements with people like Miles, because she does seem to just be easy to get on with. So that's interesting to see a bit more of her, where that's going to go. The fact that Hannah saw like a crack in the kitchen area, and when Jamie went to check, it wasn't there. So again, I think maybe it's speaking to like the level of perspectives that I was talking about earlier, like where the kids can see everything, it would seem. Maybe Danny's going to be like a bridge because she can see that guy, but maybe nothing else yet. And then others maybe are blissfully unaware of it. Maybe there's different levels of that in the fact that maybe the house is at an absolute state in ruins and stuff. And Hannah can see quite literally the cracks in this fake imagery of what the house actually is. And Jamie can't. She's very blissfully unaware of that, because she keeps herself to herself. She keeps herself with her plants most of the time instead of maybe interacting with people. So there's obviously different levels of perspective about Bly Manor itself, so I'm excited to see them explore what all that means, and it probably speaks to their headspaces right now, because Hannah also seems to have some of her own little secrets going on. Maybe she's a bit cracked, a bit broken herself. She didn't really seem to want to eat anything, made excuses in the last episode. This one, she didn't want to join in a game with the kids. And she's like, I haven't been sleeping very well, so she went off as well. So is there a self-awareness of she didn't want to play a game with the kids because she knew it was after dark or something, but she still kind of helped out at the end. She heard the ruckus and stuff. Or is she just not a hide-and-seek person, which is also fair. But clearly there's obviously a lot more to what's going on with her as well that I'm intrigued by. So I liked that. We didn't get as much Owen in this one. He was kind of, I think, the Jamie figure of this episode, where he was around but not as much with him. But we still got a sense that he gets on very well with the kids, and with Hannah and Jamie in particular as well. They seem to have a nice bit of banter between them all. So yeah, I liked what more we got of him. I imagine they might give the treatment like Miles got in this one to a lot of the characters as time goes on, much like Haunting of Hill House did. And I feel like it was more obvious. I feel like in Hill House, like this is so and so's episode, this is so and so's episode, and they were kind of got like they got like basically everything to do with just them. I feel like with Bly Manor it has been spread out a bit more, and I quite like that it's different in that respect. It really sets it apart. So maybe, you know, we'll have an episode where Flora again like gets some flashbacks, like in this episode. Owen gets an episode, Hannah gets an episode, Jamie gets an episode. You know, we probably fill in some more gaps with all of them. So I imagine that's going to be the case. So it doesn't really bother me that not everyone's in every episode loads. You know, it's just the nature of things. And yeah, we definitely got more kind of ghostly activity. I feel like in this one, it wasn't so much, you know, the weird glasses, glowy eyes guy that Danny sees. I guess that could also help her understand and be on maybe as a bridge with the kids, and that she can also see that guy haunting her prior to coming to Bly Manor, and she now sees creepy guy who played Luke in Hill House. Don't know what his role in things is going to be. She did. I think there was a picture of him that Danny found in the Forbidden Wing. So is he connected to the family somehow? And he was in a picture with someone else. I don't know if the woman he was in the picture with was the woman that was kind of humming along with Flora very creepily. I don't know if that was the thing. I don't know if who she saw was Rebecca in that, and maybe is that the guy who wronged her and kind of put her in such a bad state, and then she ended up taking her own life. Is that who that guy's going to be? Is it something else entirely? No idea, but I'm very excited to find out. But I really enjoyed what they did with this episode, continuing some little stories a bit, with like what's going on with Danny, learning a bit more about Jamie, seeing what she's kind of like, the idea of like different perspectives of what people can see in the house. The ghostly shenanigans is interesting. We got a bit more of the Plague Doctor, I think. Not as much, I feel like, in this one, but I imagine there's lots of hidden appearances that I missed from different ghosts and ghouls and Plague Doctors. So that's, you know, just reminding you of what's going on. And yeah, the backstory with Miles, focus on him, seeing what he's been going through, the idea that is he compelled to do some stuff? Did he just want to get back to his sister? And they're kind of in this together somehow. What do they know? What don't they know? How much are they in control of themselves at night, etc.? Lots of questions, but I like that we are exploring it this early on, and I'm sure we'll get some answers at some point, and I'm more than willing to wait for them. And yeah, just little bits more like Erin and Hannah and stuff I'm excited for. I actually really liked Father Stack. I thought he was a really nice guy. I like that Miles did have nice relationships with people at the boarding school. It could have been easy to do the cliche, you know, school was absolutely horrible for him. Everyone hated him. He got bullied. You know, the teachers didn't like him. But the fact that they did have a guy who was actively interested and wanting to make sure Miles was okay and like taking responsibility for his well-being, that was really nice that they changed it up in that way. But things still just went wrong. But I really liked them as kind of supporting characters in that little backstory as well. So yeah, really good episode again. I'm very intrigued to see where all of this will continue to go. But yeah, that's going to be for future episodes to deal with, I guess. Yeah, I'm very, very much on board with the characters and the mystery. So I'm willing to kind of wait and see what else we have in store, because there's still 7 episodes. We've got a long time to go yet, and lots of characters to probably give more horrible, scary, tragic backstories to. So I look forward to that. But yeah, that's going to be everything for now. Fantastic episode again. Very much enjoying what these first 2 episodes have done. I'm sure I will continue to do so with the rest. But that's going to be everything. And until my next reaction, thanks for watching.